The night Peter found that note on his bed, his whole world broke in 1 second. But the truth is, that night did not begin in that mansion in Lekki. It began many years earlier in the dusty streets of Ajegunle, where hunger taught boys to become men too early, and where friendship was the only thing that felt safe. Peter and Clement were more than friends. They were brothers by suffering. They grew up in the same rough neighborhood, wore faded uniforms to the same secondary school, and sat in the same classroom trying to ignore empty stomachs. When other boys talked about rich fathers and family cars, Peter and Clement talked about survival. They sold sachet water under the hot sun, carried loads in the market, washed cars on weekends, and did whatever small jobs they could find just to stay in school. At night, when power failed and mosquitoes filled the room, they would sit outside under the weak street light and dream. Peter always spoke like a man who had already seen tomorrow. Clement was the louder one, the funnier one, the one who could laugh even when life was beating him down. Together, they made a promise they repeated like prayer. It is us against the world. No matter what happens, we go rise together. That promise followed them into university. Even there, life did not become easier. They still struggled. They shared food, shared rent, shared shoes sometimes. There were days they had only one meal. Days they trekked long distances because transport money was not there. But somehow they pushed through. And when they finally graduated, both of them came out with excellent results. For one brief moment, it felt like all the pain had meant something. But Lagos does not always reward hard work quickly. Months passed, then years. Job applications turned into silence. Interviews ended with fake smiles and "we will get back to you." Bills kept growing. Rent kept waiting for nobody. The city moved fast, but Peter and Clement felt stuck. Then one evening, Peter met some men. They looked polished, smelled expensive, and talked like people who knew how the world truly worked. They told him there was another way to make money. Fast money, big money. Money politicians and crooked rich men would not even miss. Peter listened. At first, even he was shocked, but hunger can change what sounds impossible. When he told Clement, Clement stepped back immediately.
Clement, trust me. Just small time, we go make am and leave. You dey mad? If they catch us, na finish o.
Peter looked him straight in the eye. Just for a few years, we gather enough, then leave, start something clean. This life no fit keep us down forever. Clement was scared, but he trusted Peter more than he trusted his own fear. That had always been the problem. When Peter believed in something, it was hard not to follow. So they stepped into a dark world with open eyes and hopeful hearts, telling themselves it was temporary. And at first, it worked. Too well.
Money changed their lives so fast it almost felt unreal. The same boys who once argued over who would eat the last piece of bread were now living in places with tall gates, shining floors, and silent air conditioners. Peter bought a house in a quiet part of Lagos and kept his lifestyle low. He drove nice cars, but not too flashy. He wore simple clothes. He avoided attention. He knew that the kind of money they were making was not money to show off. Clement was different. He changed the moment money began to answer his name. He loved clubs in Victoria Island, loud music, expensive drinks, designer clothes, and the kind of women who liked men with reckless confidence. He bought exotic cars, changed phones like wristwatches, and posted enough online to make strangers envy him. Peter warned him many times.
Calm down.
Yeah.
This Lagos no dey forgive. EFCC no dey chase people wey hide well.
My brother, relax. We don't suffer too much.
That was Clement. He always wanted life to see him. Peter wanted life to leave him alone. But before money came, before the mansions and parties, there had been Sarah. Sarah was from the same area where they all grew up. She attended the same secondary school with them and later went to the same university circle. She was beautiful, yes, but that was not what made people notice her. It was the way she carried herself. Calm, smart, soft-spoken.
She was the kind of woman who looked like she understood pain but refused to let it harden her heart. Clement liked her first. He liked her quietly at first, then seriously. Peter knew this. Everybody close to them knew it. But one day, Peter saw Sarah differently. Maybe it was how she smiled at him during one of those difficult campus days. Maybe it was the way she listened when he spoke. Whatever it was, something shifted in him. When Peter told Clement, there was a long silence between them. Then Clement forced a smile and said, "Guy, no wahala. I no get anything serious with her. Make it be like that." Peter asked him if he was sure. Clement nodded. "We be brothers first." And just like that, he stepped aside. From that moment, the three of them moved closely. Sarah became part of their world. She saw Peter as the quieter one, the thoughtful one, the one who carried everyone's problems without speaking much about his own. And Peter loved her with a deep, steady kind of love. He trusted her. He built future plans around her. While Clement filled his life with parties and temporary women, Peter kept choosing Sarah again and again. Years passed, and Peter's feelings for her only grew stronger. Then Sarah got pregnant. It was the happiest Peter had ever been. For the first time in a long time, he started talking seriously about leaving their illegal work. He wanted something clean, something real. He wanted marriage, fatherhood, peace. He wanted to raise his child far away from the fear they had been hiding under. He called Clement and reminded him of their old promise.
We said this thing not temporary. We don't get enough. Make we leave and start clean now, when everything just dey flow.
By now, the money had entered his blood. The thrill, the power, the freedom. He was not ready to lose it. But Peter kept pressing him. He spoke about legacy, about safety, about tomorrow, about the son that was coming. At last, Clement agreed, but not with the joy Peter expected. Then Sarah gave birth to a baby boy. Peter held that child and felt something in him become soft. The noise inside him went quiet. He named the boy David. He looked at Sarah and saw his whole future. He told himself the dark chapter of his life was ending.
Peter planned everything carefully. That was who he had always been. He did not like loose ends. He did not like disorder. Once he decided to leave Nigeria with Sarah and baby David to start fresh, he began arranging every detail. Travel papers, money transfers, a safe place abroad, the legal business he hoped to begin once they settled. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to imagine peace without fear. He even told Clement about his marriage plans. "I want to marry Sarah properly when we settle. New country, new life. Just me, her, and David." Clement smiled and wished him well. To celebrate his departure, Clement organized a send-off party at a private spot in Lagos. It was not too loud, not too public, just a small gathering of close people. Music played, drinks flowed, friends laughed, Peter smiling in a way people had not seen in years. He looked lighter. Hope looked good on him. Then, during the party, Clement received a call. Peter noticed how quickly his face changed. He stepped away from the group and answered in a low voice. When he returned, he said there was a business emergency he needed to handle. Peter frowned. "Business? This late?" "Just one small issue. I go sort am out. I'll come meet you at home and drop you people at the airport myself." He left the party and headed home to get ready. On the drive back, he even called Clement once more to ask if everything was okay. Clement sounded calm. But when he arrived home, something felt wrong immediately. The gate was open. Peter slowed down. The front door was not properly shut. Inside, the house looked scattered. A chair was turned over. One drawer was hanging open. His heart began to pound, fast and hard. He called Sarah's name. No answer. He called again, louder this time. Silence. Then he ran upstairs. By the time he reached the bedroom, his breathing had changed. The room was empty. The wardrobe was partly open. Some things were missing. Then he saw it. A short note lying on the bed. His hands shook as he picked it up. The words were simple, but they struck like a blade. If you are reading this, then you already know the truth. David and I belong with Clement, not you. I never loved you. We only used you to build this life. Peter read it once, then again. Then he sat on the edge of the bed like his legs no longer belonged to him. It felt like the walls moved away from him, like the room had become too big and too empty at the same time. He started crying, not like a weak man, but like someone whose whole soul had just been pulled apart. Sarah, Clement, the two people he loved most. He called both of them immediately. Their phones were off. He tried again, nothing. He stood up slowly and wiped his face and began to think. Pain was there, yes, but beneath the pain was the old Peter, the planner, the one who noticed details. Then he remembered the last call with Clement. He checked the location. Clement was still in Lagos. He made one call, then another. Within minutes, men loyal to him were already moving. Peter got into his car, his heart broken, but his mind sharp. The city lights blurred as he drove through Lagos night traffic, chasing the truth but had just destroyed him. The apartment was in a quiet part of Lagos, hidden behind tall walls and dim streetlights. Peter arrived with his boys just as a car was pulling out. Even from a distance, he knew it was them. Something inside him turned cold. This was no longer suspicion. This was truth moving right in front of his eyes. "Na them," one of the boys said. Peter did not answer. The chase began immediately. The roads were nearly empty, but Lagos at night still carried its own madness. Sudden turns, speeding cars, impatient horns, flashing lights. Clement drove like a man who knew Peter would never stop until he got answers. Sarah was in the car too, holding baby David close. Peter's men pushed harder, overtook them, and finally blocked the road ahead. Clement had no way out. Everyone stepped out. Sarah came down first, holding David tightly. Clement followed, his face tense but trying to look steady. Peter got out of his own car slowly. He looked at the woman he loved, then at the friend he had once called brother. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then Peter walked up to Sarah and gently took David from her arms. The child was innocent, too small to understand the storm around him. Peter handed David to one of his men. "Take him inside the car." When the baby was safe, Peter turned back to them. His voice came out low and broken. "What did I do to deserve this?" Sarah looked away at first, then finally faced him. She said Clement had first asked her out long ago, back in the trenches. She said things became complicated when Peter came in. She said Peter always had control of everything, the plans, the money, the direction of their lives. She said at some point, what began as confusion turned into deception. She and Clement got closer in secret, and instead of telling Peter the truth, they kept using his trust. Then Clement spoke, and his own words were even more bitter. "You always wanted to be the savior, the master planner, the one that knows road. Everything had to go through you." Peter stared at him, stunned. "After all I did for you?" Clement laughed once, but there was no joy in it. "That is the problem. You did too much, and somehow you always stood above everybody." Peter's eyes filled with tears again. Not because he was weak, but because pain had reached the place where love and betrayal were living together. Peter said to Sarah and Clement, "David belongs to me. He is my son, and no one can take him away from me." One of the boys stepped forward and asked quietly, "Boss, wetin we go do?" Peter did not answer immediately. He stood there in silence, shaking inside. Then he turned away, unable to keep looking at them. He could hear movement behind him. He could hear voices. Then suddenly, the night split with 2 gunshots. Peter froze. For a second, he could not breathe. Then tears slipped down his face and he closed his eyes. That was not how he wanted the night to end. But by then, nothing about that night belonged to the life he had planned. Everything had already collapsed. Peter walked back to the car without looking behind him. David was crying softly. Peter entered the car, carried his son, and held him close. That small body was all he had left. All the money, all the houses, all the cars, none of it mattered anymore. In one night, he had lost his woman, his best friend, and the version of himself that believed loyalty could survive anything. Before morning, Peter was gone. He left Nigeria with David and never looked back. In the new country, nobody knew his full story. They only saw a quiet man and his little boy. Peter started again from zero in spirit, even if not in money. He stayed away from crime, he stayed away from loud friends. He poured everything into raising David well. Some nights the past still came for him. Some nights he would sit alone after David slept and stare into silence, asking how love and betrayal could wear the same face. But each morning, his son would wake up and call him daddy. And somehow that was enough reason to keep going. Because in the end, Peter lost almost everything, but he refused to lose himself completely. And sometimes in life, that is the only victory a broken man gets. Moral lesson. In life, not every smile is loyalty, and not every close friend is truly for you. Trust is powerful, but it must be given with wisdom. Money can change people, but true character shows when power and opportunity come. Choose peace over quick wealth, and never ignore small warning signs, because betrayal often grows quietly among the people you love most. So, my friend, if this story touched you, take a moment and think, who is truly in your corner? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful African folktales like this. Drop a comment below. What would you have done if you were Peter? Until next time, stay wise, stay safe, and remember, not every brother is truly a brother. And before you hurt someone, think of their ways of revenge.